Are you a poke support enjoyer? Do you like robots? Are you a speed demon? Then look no further because Orianna support is for you. Welcome to Overlooked Pearls, a show where I test out strange ideas nobody spends their time thinking about. Today's topic, Orianna support. This video is brought to you by iBonnieTH. Many thanks for the video idea, I hope you'll like this one. After a recent dive into Bruiser supports, Orianna's support is much more of a traditional enchanter. With a poke ability, a movement speed buff, a shield, and a mini Diana ult, Orianna is a very well-rounded support character. Gentlemen, let's get to work. The reason for playing Orianna support is pretty simple. Her kit is great for both offensive poke and engaging, as well as for retreating and peeling. While she might not excel at poking as much as Xerath or at peeling as much as Thresh, Orianna has the ability to switch between either poking or peeling at a moment's notice. For example, Orianna can move her ball behind the enemy, damaging them, then pulling the ball back, damaging enemies again along the way, and giving the ADC free shields and armor and MR. Additionally, people tend to underestimate the amount of shielding Orianna can provide. With her E ability on a 4-second cooldown on max rank, you can spam shields on everyone constantly. Combine that with her E passively providing free armor and MR, her shield value is larger than what is shown, making it comparable to Janna's shield. Additionally, it also continues to provide bonus armor and MR as long as the ball is attached to your ally, regardless of whether the shield is active or not. And this is just her base kit without factoring in any items. The amount of utility she provides in the form of speed buffs and shielding is immensely useful, and her ult can be a team-winning skill if set up properly. Despite only seeing her in the mid lane, her kit seems pretty well designed for a bot lane support. Overall, I think these are some pretty solid reasons as to why you should try her out as a support. There are two rune pages I'd recommend. The first one is the aggressive rune page. This is meant for matchups where you can aggressively poke the enemy early on and harass them out of lane. Take Summon Airy for poke and extra shooting, Mana Follow Band to help with mana sustain, Transcendence for faster cooldowns, and Scorch for early game poke. For the second tree, take Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace. I tend to poke the enemy whenever my abilities are off cooldown, so Presence of Mind helps me regain my mana. Coup de Grace because more damage against low HP targets is always a good thing. You can also opt instead for Approach Velocity and Free Boots if you want the extra movement speed in fights, but I prefer the Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace combo. The second rune page is for difficult matchups where a more passive playstyle is needed. Orianna is a very item dependent character and will lose to aggressive early game champions like Pyke or Lux, so I recommend taking the Guardian rune page to help you through the early laning phase. Take Guardian for shielding, Font of Life for ally healing, Conditioning or Second Wind depending on the situation, Conditioning for better scaling, Second Wind against heavy poke, and Revitalize for stronger shields. For second tree, take Mana Flow Band for mana sustain and Celerity for faster movement speed or Gathering Storm for better scaling. You can choose between the final two, but Mana Flow Band is a must for mana sustain. For both rune pages, take whatever adaptives you need, although if you're taking the Transcendence rune, I recommend the cooldown adaptive to stack its effects. For your first item, go for either Spell Thief's Edge or Relic Shield. Now why Relic Shield? As I mentioned earlier, there are several bot lane supports that are stronger than Orianna in the early game. Going Relic Shield allows Orianna to still safely gain gold without having to contest the enemy directly for poke. Mages like Lux or engaged champions like Leona will eat you alive if you try to challenge them early. Simply put, take Spell Thief's Edge if running the Summon Airy rune to earn gold from poke. Relic Shield if you are using the Guardian rune for defensive play. There are two mythic options for Orianna support. They are either Shurelia's Battlesong or Moonstone Renewer. Let's discuss Shurelia's Battlesong first. Having the ability to provide a speed boost by shielding someone, using the item active, or using the W skill is incredible. The speed boost you can provide to people on a 4-second cooldown creates lightning fast roaming speeds. Being able to respond quickly to any Dragon Pit fight, running back to lane twice as fast, or giving everyone on your team extra mobility will always be useful. And plus, it's really fun to zoom around. But sometimes you need durability over mobility. When the enemy team has 10 different ways of locking down a target, you need strong shields. That's where Moonstone Renewer comes in. Moonstone Renewer increases healing and shielding power when you use abilities in combat. Since Orianna spams her skills constantly, we can get increased shielding on our targets really easily, resulting in higher sustain for your team during fights. The increased shielding and healing effect can be the difference between a live ADC or a dead one. Moving on to her shoes, she's got several options. Short shoes for magic pen, Ionian boots for faster cooldowns, and for extra funnies, take Swifties to be the fastest bot alive. After completing your shoes, either go for Ardent Sensor first to give attack speed buffs or Chemtech Purifier first for anti-heal. Make sure to complete both items either way. Your final item can be Warding Wardstone for more control wards. Your final build should look something like this. Other options include Rylai's Crystal Scepter for slowing down enemies, Shadow Flame because I hate shields, and Zhonya's to make assassins cry. Honestly, Orianna is so versatile you can build almost anything on her and still come out okay. In the early laning phase, you want to poke the enemy safely, which is why we'll be taking Q first. Level E, then W. Try not to use your W too much. It costs a whopping 70 mana at level 1 and will drain your mana quickly. Stand behind minions and poke with Q and P with E. This is how most games will go. However, if the enemy support outranges you or is an aggressive early game champ, you do not want to contest them. Always hide behind minions, do not greet for pokes, and farm minions with your relic shield. Your goal is to build items and scale, so early game is not your time to shine. Always try and keep the ball on your ADC when skirmishing because that passive armor and MR will help them a lot. For both cases, max E first, then W, then Q last. Your goal is not to be a damage dealer, but a utility mage support. By mid game, you should have your mythic of choice, base shoes, and your ult. Mana should not be a problem at this stage and your skills can be freely spammed. If your lane is in a stalemate or ahead, either force an engage with your ult or roam to gank mid lane. With her ability to spam W, you can speed boost to quickly reach mid lane to set up a gank. An even better situation is where you coordinate with your jungler to gank mid, speed boosting the both of you with your W. Use your ult to suck them in, guaranteeing a W hit to slow them down afterwards, then use your E to protect your mid laner or your jungler during the engage. Done properly, it is practically a free kill. However, if you are behind, you'll find it hard to leave lane and roam. In that case, stick with your ADC and use your ult defensively. If they push up to your tower, ult them in and slow them down with W. Especially with the recent update, towers now deal insane amounts of damage, so the enemy has two choices. Option 1 is to run away without shooting in fear of getting shot by the tower, resulting in free damage for your ADC. Option 2 is to fight back and hope they can burst down your ADC before they die. Option 1 is in your favor, and option 2 can be easily solved by shooting your ADC and retreating while the tower finishes the job. This will either kill the enemy ADC, or it hurts them so badly it prevents over-aggressive engages. No matter how far behind you are, Orianna is still a threat under towers, which should hopefully buy enough time for your ADC. After the laning phase is all done with, you become the world's first AI taxi service. Always stick with someone and speed boost them with your W. If Shurelia's Battlesong is your mythic, spam shields on them as well to maintain Shurelia's Battlesong's speed bonus. With free movement speed and constant shooting for your entire team, you can help your team quickly catch a split pusher and return in time for a team fight, or quickly run away from an ambush. You can even speed boost your own minions, allowing for faster pushes. Movement speed is an ignored yet heavily important stat, especially for the macro game, making Orianna in the late game a very powerful support. During team fights, you always want to be constantly moving your ball. You are either poking enemies, shooting allies, speeding people up, slowing enemies down, or setting up your ball for an ult opportunity. Done right, a 3-man Orianna ult can easily swing the entire fight. As powerful as you are, always remember that you are almost helpless alone. Since without any AP items, you are no longer a burst mage. Do not try and solo someone unless they are very weak. Always, and I repeat, always, stick with someone who can fight and watch them easily 1v3 with your help. Here are the pros and cons of Orianna's support. Pros. 1. Tons of utility. Orianna's kit provides tons of utility. Either through shooting or speed boosting, she can always help the team by providing stat boost advantages. And in a game like League of Legends, stats are worth their weight in gold, and Orianna provides them for free. 2. Low cooldown skills. With easily spammable skills, Orianna can remain highly active during a teamfight, allowing for maximum uptime on Shurelya's or Moonstone Renewer. This also means more shooting and more speed buffs over time, making sustained teamfights in your favor. 3. Huge power spike at Mythic. The moment Orianna gets a Mythic, it becomes a completely different game. You don't have to worry about running out of mana, and your skills now provide enhanced benefits to everyone. And since they're both support Mythics, it's also a lower gold investment than normal. Cons. 1. Weak early game. Orianna is not great during the early game. She is mana hungry, her skills feel less spammy, and the lack of ult gives her 0 hard CC abilities. Not a great start for your standard enchanted supports who usually come with CC and impactful poking or healing straight out of the box. 2. Very team dependent. Orianna is very team dependent, relying on her team to position properly for speed boost engages, co-op roams, and follow-ups after ult. Without a good team to rely on, Orianna might as well not exist. And in solo play, good luck trying to get a cooperative team every time. 3. Very item dependent. Her ability to power spike at Mythic is also her weakness. Without her items, Orianna feels incomplete and weak, so until you get your items, you will be at a disadvantage most of the time. While Orianna's support is fun and definitely useful, she isn't doing so well in this current meta. There are other enchanters that currently outclass her like Lulu or Janna, both of which have access to hard CC early on and are less item dependent. And other mages like Xerath or Lux have much higher poking capabilities without items. Her item-reliant jack-of-all-trades nature is both a blessing and a curse, allowing her to reach insane amounts of utility later in the game, but also being crippled without them. She is a support that shouldn't be blindly picked, and if she is picked, hopefully you are playing dual queue with your ADC, because without communication and teamwork, Orianna's support can be a frustrating experience. But when it does work, it can be one of the most fun and powerful supports you'll ever play. I recommend you try her out with Lucian or Ezreal, since they both benefit from high mobility and Lucian's passive activates from constant shooting. With that said, sorry for the delay everyone. Orianna's support was unexpectedly hard to make, and I had to do a fair amount of tinkering and research with her to provide a comprehensive piece on her. Sorry about that. As always, comment down below if you have any suggestions for this channel or if you'd like to see any champion in Overlooked Pearls. That's it for today folks. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. Consider subscribing if you're interested. Good night and sweet dreams. Meme Cat signing off.
Him the Zoe
Oh
diff.
my god, it's another Zoe.
Show him the condom head diff.
Well, according to Pika,
Oh no, he put his
has the skin
he put his
diff.
flash on F.
Yeah, Woody has
He put
the
his
skin
flash
diff,
on-
obviously.
He put his flash on F. Oh my
We
god, I'm
have
gonna
to
lose.
destroy that girl. It's too
I'm gonna
dangerous
lose.
to
He
be
put his
alive.
flash on F. He
It's-
put his flash on F. I'm
it's
gonna
okay.
lose.
It's
Oh,
okay.
no.
You have your flash
He put
on
his flash
D,
on there.
and according to
have
Bianca,
no,
Don't panic, guys. Don't stop panicking. Stop.
I don't want to hear that from him. I don't want to hear that from him.
it's okay. I have my
Anyone
flash
else
on
can calm
T.
me down.
No, what the fuck?
Fucking animal. Why am I laning with you?
What the fuck? I'm
Honestly,
so
I don't
close to
know.
your
Like,
ult.
you know, the more I use it, the more I feel like this
Cordy?
is a bad idea. The more I use it, honestly.
Auntie?
Yeah,
I have
honestly.
my flash on the mouse
Yeah.
button.
What are you doing?